to the Misfit Boyz podcast, and based on what I've seen from the Pyeongchang Games, we are more than capable and willing to step up to the challenge for Olympic glory. My name is Cheyenne Goglis. I'm the moderator, moral compass, and sometimes referee of the show. I am joined today by...
Jeff Hunter. Roses are red, violets are blue. The Eagles won Super Bowl 52.
That brought a tear to my eye, man.
It's the best form of poetry that we have in the year of 2018.
Can you do it as a haiku now?
It took me like 3 days to come up with that.
English wasn't his strong suit in high school.
Yeah. Bad at math, bad at English,
Okay.
I'm lucky I got a diploma.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Pete?
Yes, hi. I'm returning guest to the Misfit Boyz podcast.
Two-time returning guest. Our first time
Seriously.
two-time returning guest.
Do I get like a ribbon or a plaque or something for that?
After 40 return visits, you get a set of steak knives.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Today, you can have a beer.
Hey, I got a Sprite right now, so that's a step up. This is Pete. It's over 9,000 Carullo. And I'm about to get my drink on.
Right on. Gentlemen, start your beverages.
Oh, mine's popped already, so.
No worries.
Salud.
Interesting.
Yeah, different. Cheyenne and I are both partaking in a Sam 76. It's a Samuel Adams combination of a Pilsner and a lager. I have stolen out of Cheyenne's fridge.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're doing the show today from my house. Change things
Casa
up a little bit.
Goglis.
Yeah, it's the Casa de Gogolai. Well, that's plural for Goglis.
Multiple Goglises.
And they're all over this place, along with Pete's progeny, and then our former neighbors Bob and Kathleen. They brought their kids over, so it turned into a thing, and it's all good. It's all good. Had plenty of chicken for everybody.
It's all about that background noise.
That was the beginning and end of my contribution to the party.
All about that background noise,
and
right?
podcast equipment.
Got to recreate the ambiance from New Year's Eve.
Yes. It was a brief month and a half ago, but it was much louder during New Year's Eve. Mostly the kids are outside because we're kind of doing this in the waning daylight hours. No league games this weekend for us. It's a championship game, and alas, we are not in it. But
Unfortunately.
So we turned it into a drinking holiday.
Sounds like a good reason to me.
I still think we're winning.
Any excuse to have a drinking holiday is a good day in my book.
It's Thursday. It's a drinking holiday.
It's just
Any day ending in Y.
Yes.
It's just good to see Jeff back in one piece after his vast travels all over the eastern side of the contiguous United States.
I'll try to keep this to a brief 45-minute diatribe, but a lot of traveling this week, visiting some of the states up north, Minnesota, Chicago, Illinois, and the greater New York City metropolitan area. My trip back from Newark, unfortunately, an airline that will go unnamed, let's just call them Delta Airlines. And they delayed my flight and gave my seat away on my connecting flight from Atlanta back to Tampa. And then after I was number one in priority to get a standby seat, 2 minutes before the flight was supposed to take off, put somebody else as number one priority and let him get on the one seat that was available. And I finally made it back to Tampa in one piece. Not happy about it, clearly. I'm going to stop talking about it for fear of getting my Irish up again and ruining the entire podcast. Rest assured, I'm writing a sternly worded letter to the CEO of Delta Airlines. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say their name. Schmelta Schmerlines.
Rhymes with Belta.
Probably won't be looking for we won't be looking for a corporate sponsorship from them.
They're not a sponsor, are they?
No, they aren't anymore.
Yeah.
If they were, we will make sure that we actively remove them.
And if they were, they're probably just finding out about it too.
Our lone corporate sponsor remains Taco Bell.
Other than Tarpon Total Healthcare, thank you, Dr. Sean.
Yeah, Tarpon Total Healthcare.
But Taco Bell seems to creep into this show more oftentimes than we'd care to take count.
I saw, not with us today, but Mr. Michael Becker. He's still in training for the taco challenge that will allow him to retire from the team. It's the blood out portion of the gang initiation, and he's still working on it. He wants to just play golf every day and also do something that we've talked about off air, which is start a curling league.
Yeah, he showed a lot of interest in it, especially with the Winter Games coming full swing here.
We were looking over in Wesley Chapel, Florida, which is somewhat near us, a short 40-minute drive from Casa Goglai. And I think they've got like a $60 intro to curling class that takes place, I think, over 4 weekends. So we're considering signing up for that and throwing away our Saturdays in addition to our Sundays on hockey, another ice sport. We're bringing in curling, and maybe we'll see how that goes. Well, maybe we can film something and throw it up on YouTube.
And if nothing else, it can be something to do during the off season.
And like most things Misfit related, this is also the first time Stephanie's hearing about us becoming professional curlers. So
well,
I'm gonna keep this on the down low. Let her listen to the podcast later in the week. Surprise!
Our goal, the 2022 Olympics. That's what we're aiming for. We've seen the USA curling team. Not all that, in my opinion. I think we can easily master the sport of curling.
The pants were pretty spectacular, though.
I got to say that I watched a match with Italy against the U.S. and I got to say, you laugh all you want. It looks a lot harder than. Just studying it, it looks a lot harder than what it appears.
As anybody who's been in a really intense game of bar shuffleboard. I mean, this seems like it would be very, very similar, except on ice.
Have either of you guys ever played bocce?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, it seems like there'd be a lot of similarities between the two, despite the fact one's on ice and the other's not. But the whole, just getting close to the rock and how you score points and everything.
Yeah.
So, and bocce's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So, I mean, I'm sure there's definitely a challenge to it, but it just seems like it's so cool. And then you forget about it for 3 years and 6 months. And then once the next Olympics comes back around, you're like, oh, hey, curling.
Everybody seems to get really excited about it. Like it's sort of a hypnotic sport to watch on TV where you're like, oh, curling, I'll watch this for 5 minutes. And then an hour and a half later, you're still watching curling.
Yeah, I put it on the other day at work in hopes of maybe catching a quick nap or something like that. And I couldn't. I could not close my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, what is Italy doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Oh my goodness. It's captivating. I think it's probably because all the other Winter Olympic sports are focused on speed.
Yeah.
Snowboarding, skiing, ice hockey, speed skate, everything is fast. Even figure skating is faster than this.
Where this one's all about the technique.
This is skill. This is skill.
It's a finesse sport.
Mm-hmm.
And from what my understanding is, the scrubbers are not there to rough up the ice, but they're there to smooth the ice, to free the ice of debris and dust and other things.
But I think it also helps to control the path of the stone as well too.
And the friction that they're doing and how fast they do it makes the ice slick again.
My understanding was the friction almost sort of like very slightly melts the ice a little bit and makes it easier to control the path of the stone.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it may be a freshly zammed sheet of ice, but they must do something to kind of rough it up a little bit because the stones are moving and they're spinning freely like you would expect on ice. But to see them actually start picking up speed like at the end, it's just very peculiar. I'm curious about taking the class just because I want to learn more about the sport because it's piqued my curiosity.
Yeah. We did brainstorm some curling team names last night. The best one that we heard, we didn't come up with this one, but the best one we heard was Indiana Stones. And then I think our two best ones were probably, mine was Game of Stones. And I think Mike had Legion of Broom.
Legion of Broom.
I like that one.
I
like the Legion of Broom.
I like Legion of Broom.
Yeah. Pete and myself, big Flyers fans, so we have a sort of
I'm going to be partial to that
emotional connection to the Legion of Doom.
I just like the ring of it, man. That's just I like it. I really do. It's just. Call yourself the kidney stones if you want. If I'm just coming up with stuff on the fly, I'd say kidney stones or
sweeper agents.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That's good too. I think we need to put it up to a vote. I mean, hell, we can get the shirts made up before we even join the league and get the hype going.
That's always the most important part there. Get your name out before you know if you even want to do it or not.
Yeah, Armando can get the shirts made for us, and the turnaround time is a short 18 months.
But they'll be custom made and
just in time for the Summer Olympics.
It's sort of a rule. You got to get at least one dig in on Armando when he's not on the podcast, which is all the time recently.
Well, now he's no longer an anchor on the show. He's more of he's a special guest at this point. And honestly, in the last month and a half, I think Pete, you and him are tied for appearances.
Actually, I think
is that who I replaced the last time I was on the podcast?
Yeah. You've never met our captain, but he is actively doing a lot of work for his his job today.
His day job.
And it's just supposed to be his day
His
off,
quote
and he
unquote
is-
real job.
Yeah,
This is really our real
his real
job.
job is a real pain right now for him, and he's not excited to not be here. But
I can imagine.
we have to get our digs in on him while he's not
Of
here,
course.
because otherwise, what's the point of having this show?
Well, duh,
we
yeah.
dig on him when he's here, and we dig even harder when he's not. So try to encourage him to come back. Come back.
At least then we can make fun of you
Misfit
to your
number
face.
one.
Yeah.
Number one stunner.
It's not as fun when you can't see his reaction.
No. And with Becker, he's putting windows in his house. His entire house. They started at 8 o'clock this morning,
Oh.
and they weren't expecting to be done until about 8 o'clock. So
I don't think they're going to get done today. I think they're going to have to continue on tomorrow.
they're going to work until they run out of daylight, or cover up the last hole before daylight runs out.
Hopefully he's off Monday and can actually get a day out of his weekend to just, not.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe he does.
It's President's Day, but I don't think it's going to be observed
Probably.
by.
I think he's probably still
business.
working. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. But anyway, so that's where our other two misfits are at, and
Well, thanks for having me in their place, guys. Appreciate it.
absolutely love having you, Pete. We
Gotta have a Flyers fan on every once in a while, just so I'm not completely outnumbered.
Just so people know that more than one actually exists.
So exactly.
This might be the first podcast that the B word is not even mentioned. And I'm not even going to mention what the B word is to not invite it in.
It's not really a bad thing.
We'll see. I feel confident you'll manage to sneak it in somewhere.
See, depending on which conference you are, that B word can mean one of two different things. So.
We're not talking about either one of those teams tonight.
No.
Actually, I'd like to focus tonight on Olympic hockey. I don't know how much you've been following, Pete. He's been kind of off the radar a little bit with his travels.
I've been seeing highlights. I haven't been seeing a lot of the actual games.
Unfortunately, I'm far behind on where I'd like to be caught up with it. I haven't really watched much of the Olympics so far this year, which is odd because normally I do like to watch them, especially the winter ones, because I'm a big winter sport fan, so I always find that a lot more entertaining than watching the summer Olympics. But yeah, I'm like really, really behind on it this year. So anything you can do to educate me here on what's been happening, especially in the hockey world, I'm definitely down for.
The USA's bad.
Well,
that's all I can really
currently
say.
up to date.
Okay, but does that apply to both men's and women's? Because wasn't I think, and you might be bringing this up, and I might be jumping ahead here, but didn't Jocelyn Lamoureux just set a new Olympic record for 2 goals in 6 seconds? Was that in one of the Olympic play games?
I know
women's team?
If it was, I didn't see it. I've been up to date with the news. I saw one game. Actually, I saw 2 games. I saw the U.S. women's lose to Canada, and I saw the U.S. men beat Slovakia.
Barely.
They barely beat Slovakia, but it was after the women's game, and it was before the men's game. There was an article I read that said that the Olympic Committee needs to basically beg Gary Bettman to allow the NHL stars to play in the Olympics because just in general, the Olympic hockey has been bad. And I was like,
not exactly
really?
surprising.
Well, you've got a bunch of, essentially, if you look at Team USA, you've got some NHL retreads, and then you've got sort of the bottom of the barrel of the AHL and the collegiate ranks. You don't have any,
Well, isn't the leading goal scorer for Team Canada Rene Bourque?
I'm not sure.
I think he has like 4 goals in the Olympics or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when you can say that, there's issues.
Yeah, well, you just got, you look at Russia. Russia has sent, guys who played in the NHL and were really good. They've got Datsuk and they've got Kovalchuk. They've got really good players. Players who are still playing at a high level. Kovalchuk scored 2 goals against the USA and beating them 4-0 the other day. They're sending their good players, and the U.S. isn't. Which is a shame because the U.S. I think they had if we had played by the Sochi rules and we're sending our best pros, I think the U.S. has a very good chance to win it.
I'd like to play counterpoint to that for a second because was it in Sochi where they came in 4th? They didn't even medal. I think U.S. men's Olympic hockey, or Team USA men's, has a lot of organizational problems, and I think it starts with the people that they have making the calls. They are not building the men's Olympics teams, or even on any level of USA hockey, aside maybe in the junior ranks, to be competitive in the current hockey environment. And I think the big problem with that was the way Dean Lombardi put the team together.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think there's better players now. You've got
there's much
Austin
better players
Matthews,
now.
You've got, somebody who wasn't even asked to play on the World Cup team, Phil Kessel. You've got good American players.
Right, but does the management
have
have the smarts to actually pick them and put them on the team? That's the point I'm
asking.
asking.
That's the counterpoint, and that's a very good counterpoint that I've seen is, do you trust USA Hockey to ice the best possible lineup?
And I don't at this point.
I have to probably agree with you. They probably won't. But Austin Matthews is going to be on the team. But it's just a shame to see a time when USA Hockey is sort of. This could have maybe sneaky been the best USA Hockey team of all time. At least since they started letting professionals back into it. This could have been the best possible team that they could have put out there. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of a lost opportunity. You got to look. What's going to happen in 4 years? I have to imagine that in 4 years, because the Olympics are going to be in China, and that's a market that the NHL really wants to crack, I think they're going to relent, and I think we're going to see the NHL players back in the Olympics in 2022.
And maybe that was Bettman's master plan after all. Maybe he had the foresight to realize, look, he knows it's going to suck not having the Olympic players there. It's not going to be as watchable because just the level of talent is not going to be what people come to expect. And you look back to that the gold medal game between USA and Canada. I forget what year it was, but
I think it was 8 years ago.
Yeah. And just how amazing that game was, going down to the golden goal in overtime. And that did more to put eyes on hockey, especially in the United States, than anything did in a long time. And then you go from that to B-level talent.
Yeah. And I could say that one of the things, that solidified my hockey fandom was in 2002, was seeing USA play Canada and play Russia, that's a huge deal. I know that people say that you don't really see a translation between the ratings of, people watching Olympic hockey to NHL hockey. And that's sort of one of the things that the NHL points to and says, well, really isn't doing anything for us, and we can't promote it because the Olympics own the copyright, and we can't show TJ Oshie, dominating the Russians in the shootout from 2014. The NHL can't use that in their advertising, even though that was a huge moment that everybody watched because it was awesome.
Yeah.
So, I can see it from that point, but ultimately I think it's a dumb, short-sighted decision to not let the players play. And I think it's also a dumb, short-sighted decision because the NBC is the rights holders to the Olympics, and they're also the NHL national rights holders. You got to think the NBC can't be too happy about the fact that the NHL more or less, submarined them by not letting the pro players go and play. And I'm sure that's absolutely hurt the ratings for the men's Olympic hockey tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially here stateside. Nobody's going to want to watch subpar hockey, especially when it's the Olympics. It's supposed to be the best hockey out there. And without the pro talent there, you're getting whatever is left. The Russians sent over KHL guys, and that's the NHL in Russia. Yeah. They are the best Russian players that aren't playing in the NHL, and we don't have anything close to it. The AHL can't touch it. It's a pipeline for players into the NHL, but it's not the only pipeline.
Or for players on their way out of the NHL.
Yeah, true.
Even the AHL players, essentially anybody who has an NHL contract can't play in the Olympics. So, anybody who has a two-way contract in the AHL can't go. So you're not even getting the middle of the barrel in the AHL. Same deal with college. You're not seeing like Casey Middlestat. You're not seeing him, who he was a great player to watch in the World Juniors. It's strange that the World Juniors was a lot more compelling to watch than the Olympics have been so far. But he's not playing on Team USA because he's got an NHL contract. So it's just a shame to see what I thought. The men's Olympic hockey, I thought, was the best hockey tournament in the world to watch. Yes. Incredibly entertaining hockey, a great brand of hockey to watch. Right. And we've missed out on that. You're seeing it being played with guys who are never going to touch the NHL or who have already kind of been, semi-retired or out of the league. You're not seeing that at all. It's extremely disappointing because it's so much fun. It's been so much fun the past, probably going on 20 years now to watch Olympic hockey, and it does feel like it's kind of been ripped away from us a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And to flip over to a positive thing for American hockey too, I just did a little research while we were talking about that one. It was in the game against Russia, Team USA for the women's team, Jocelyn Lamoureux did set a new Olympic record, scoring 2 goals in 6 seconds. Wow. The previous record was 2 and 8.
She quick.
She quick. So at least USA Hockey has something to hang their hat on from this Olympics,
Absolutely.
even if it's not a medal.
The girls are doing fantastic. I told you guys I saw them play the USF men's hockey club.
Our on-site correspondent, Cheyenne, went to go see them play.
Absolutely hammered them boys because, I mean, half of that Olympic squad, they'd been to the Olympics 2-3 times.
Yeah.
And then these guys, they're all, 19 to 22-year-old guys in college. They have no chance. These girls are playing in the NWHL.
Yeah.
They're playing Olympic hockey. They just used them as a sharpening stone, and their speed was on display. And you could tell after they were up a couple of goals, you could tell that they were actively working on different plays on these guys. And God bless the Bulls. They did their best to try to keep up with them, but
it was just a different level.
Yeah.
It was not happening.
One thing I thought was really cool was they were everywhere during NHL All-Star Game weekend.
They were.
They involved Team USA women's hockey so much. And did you guys watch the skills competition?
Yeah.
I don't know if they showed it on TV, but they actually had members of the USA women's national team actually demonstrating all the competitions before the players actually started doing them.
I believe Hillary
which was
Knight,
really cool.
I think that's her name. Hillary Knight demonstrated the accuracy competition. And I think somebody, I can't remember who it was, but an NHL player said, is it kind of intimidating to see her go and kind of just absolutely dust that challenge?
She did better than most of the NHLers.
I think she went 4 for 4 or 4 for 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she absolutely dominated it. And when she was doing the demonstration, and I know I forget who it was, but there was an NHL player who was like, yeah, it was kind of intimidating to see that.
Yeah. But, I mean, she probably didn't have 3 pitchers of beer in the locker room before going over the skills competition because, let's be honest, this is All-Star weekend. It's about having fun.
Gasparilla weekend.
And it's Gasparilla weekend. The skills competition was during the Gasparilla parade.
I loved Eric.
We doubt he definitely had a pitcher or two before he came out.
I thought it was quite nice. Eric Carlson wearing the pirate hat during the skills competition. That was a nice touch. Yeah.
There was a good video of Carlson and Hedman sort of walking in the arena, just like walking through the hallways, and they're dressed up in full sort of pirate.
Nice.
That was a really
the
good,
players
moment.
had fun that weekend.
Oh yeah. Now, like I said, there was definitely some players you could tell in the skills competition who looked like they had definitely been enjoying Gasparilla a little bit earlier in the day.
It's a whole day event, So
It looked like I say Claude Giroux. I think probably
he looked like he was having some fun.
Looked like he was having some. He might have had some fun earlier. Carlson looked like he probably had some fun. Couldn't put the puck on his stick when he was trying to get it through the. I think in the puck control relay, he had to place it on his stick. He couldn't flip it up on his stick. So, but yeah.
But yeah, the girls are definitely very talented. I enjoyed watching them play Canada. The only issue with them is they're having trouble trying to unravel the mystery of the Canadian goaltender. She is fantastic. She's really good. The whole Canadian team is really good. But the Team USA does get their chances. They're getting multiple tries, and they are not backing down with a challenge. I mean, they step up and they're smacking the heck out of each other before, during, and after the whistle. They are not backing down. They are not taking no for an answer. They badly want to get that gold medal,
and that's what you want to see.
Get it, yeah. Yeah, they're playing extremely well now. Converse to that, watching the U.S. men's hockey versus Slovakia, again, I had heard that the writer of that one article said the IOC needs to beg the NHL for their players for next go around. And I was like, so what's the big deal? And I'm watching them play Slovakia. I'm like, okay, not bad. They're doing well. But it was a closer game than it would have been had there been NHL stars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
but then here we have the shellacking of Russia against USA. It was a shutout. I was thinking it was 4-0.
It was 4-0. Yeah, and it's been. I mean, just the really devastating part of it has been that Team USA has looked completely outclassed. I mean, even though they won the game against Slovakia, I mean, it's not because they beat essentially an opponent who was very close to them in skill level. It wasn't because they were just sleeping or something like that. I mean, they barely beat them because they're pretty much, close to the same level as Slovakia, and that you saw against Russia. They were completely outclassed. I mean, Russia had better, more experienced, much more talented players, and Team USA just doesn't have that.
Well, when you have active NHLers that say, I don't want to extend my contract and I'd rather go back and play in the KHL, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
there's going to be that drop off of talent from one level to the next, and it's funny because I wonder how many players are actually playing for the South Korean team, because I don't know if you saw an article, I read one about this where South Korea was actually offering citizenship to former American hockey players so that they could actually be somewhat competitive in this year's Olympics. I know one of the former
one of them was a former
flyer, Mike Tessweed.
Yeah, and he went over, his career sort of ended in the NHL, and he went over to play in South Korea in a professional league. He's been there for a couple of years now, and
now he's a citizen, so he could actually play for their team.
Yeah, and he's a South Korean citizen now, and it's a very interesting story. To sort of see, whenever you get a host nation like South Korea that maybe doesn't have a deep background in something like hockey, it's very interesting to sort of see how they go about trying to make sure that they're at least somewhat competitive.
Yeah. No, I like seeing them step up, especially in there. And it's a non-traditional sport for them to try to put together a competitive team, especially in that sport. And remember last Olympics, it was in Sochi in Russia, and U.S. handily took care of Russia. And I wonder how this revenge game the other day, was it really that the USA Hockey is that bad, or did Russia really step up their game from 4 years ago, being embarrassed in their own home country?
I think that played a part of it, but it's hard to draw a comparison just because of the disparate level of talent.
Yeah, I mean, nobody who was playing against the Russians 4 years ago is playing now. You've got guys who are watching that on TV.
Yeah, I mean, that USA-Russia game from 4 years ago was like, Stanley Cup playoff level, just the intensity and the way the two teams were going out in there. That's something you would expect to see during the finals. And this might as well has been an NHL team versus an AHL team, from what you guys are saying.
It was essentially, it's probably what it was.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
it was KHL versus AHL.
Yeah. Like I said, you're seeing guys who are not going to sniff the NHL, and you've got
cool
guys
for them to say, hey,
essentially
I play in the
could get
Olympics.
an NHL contract at any point if they wanted it, and guys like Datsuk or Kovalchuk. Like those guys, if they said, yeah, I'm going to leave the KHL, I'm going to go play in the NHL, those guys will have a contract tomorrow.
One call to their agent, they're back in the league.
They got nobody on the Team USA who has that. You've got guys who have essentially been forced out of the league, and like Brian Giunta. I mean, they can't even get a look. So.
Yeah. And it's a shame. The thing, part of it, I think, is that Bettman is money motivated to keep the season going, because you got to put butts in seats to make money for the season, versus shutting it down for 2.5, 3 weeks to compete in the Olympics. I get the money side of it, but it's every 4 years, and it's for the betterment of the sport. And honestly, I can't see why the IOC can't say, well, look, if your biggest hang-up is you can't promote your players in Olympic footage, this and the other, they got to come to some sort of an agreement. It's like, look, you want NHL level talent in the Olympics, you got to help play ball here. They're losing money, but we should be able to use the Olympics as a springboard. Or like, hey, you remember the heroics of TJ Oshie during the Olympics? Come see him in Tampa when his team visits the Lightning. That kind of stuff.
The problem is both of them are strong Type A personalities, both Bettman and the guy that runs the IOC, and neither one of them wants to give it. Both of them think, well, they have the ultimate argument, and it is at the detriment of the sport overall, unfortunately. Because I agree with your points on that whatsoever. That was such an iconic moment in American hockey history with TJ Oshie 4 years ago, when they kept going back to him again and again and again, and every time he beat Bobrovsky in the shootout. And what did they go? 8 rounds, 9 rounds?
I think it did.
Yeah, I think it ended after 9 rounds. I think he made every shot except one.
Yeah, that was.
And the funny thing is, the one that he missed, he had it wide open. He just shot it high.
Yeah, and that is something that I'm sure Bettman and the NHL would salivate to get their hands on, just to be able to have that promotional footage, because they have masterful people putting their promotional packages together that you see play during the play. Just even on a regular Saturday game on NHL or NBC Sport, on NBC or NBC Sports, those promo packages are fantastic. And just to add footage like that into it, would be amazing.
Yeah, well, and I think I talked about this when we talked about the Olympics, last year, and we knew that the NHL was not going to allow their players to go, but in a couple of years, they're going to have the World Cup of Soccer in Qatar. And because Qatar is, typically the World Cup is held during the summer, but because Qatar is so hot, it's like 120 degrees there in the summer, they can't do it. So they moved it to, I think, December. So it's going to be in the winter there. And that's right in the middle of the English Premier League's season. And they're the biggest, richest, most powerful soccer league in the world. All the best players play in the Premier League. And essentially what they did was sort of shrug their shoulders and say, all right, well, I guess we have to shut down our season for 2 weeks and let the World Cup go on, because they knew that, keeping, if they enforce
They
their
understand the
contract,
prestige of something like the World Cup.
they understand how valuable that is to them. And they said, all right, well, we don't want to do it, but we got to do it. And there's really sort of no way around that. And I just wish that the NHL would not be so short-sighted, because they're not getting anything out of this. They're not getting anything out of keeping their players out of the Olympics.
And that's why I think that, as much as we hate Bettman, and we all hate Bettman, he is again, just like Goodell is for the NFL. He's the scapegoat. He is the person that gets all the blame heaped on him. But it's ultimately he's doing the bidding of all the owners, and the owners are running businesses. And the fact is that they want to keep the money going, or if they're going to lose money, they need to get some sort of benefit out of it that can then go ahead and give them money to replace the money they lost.
Yeah.
Case in point is the Hockey World Cup. You know where it's taking place this year? Kalinga Stadium in, I'm going to mess this up, Bhubaneswar, India. Is there any hockey in India? Do they, other than for this, do they even have a sheet of ice in India?
I'm gonna go on a limb and say no.
I'm still just trying to process that sentence.
It's right here. It's right here. It's on the eastern coast.
I'll be honest.
Of India.
I didn't know they were having the World Cup of Hockey this year.
World Cup of Hockey 2018 from November 28th to December 16th in Kalinga Stadium.
Well, I guess if they can put an outdoor rink in
That can't be right,
California,
because that's in the middle of the season. They're not going to have it in the middle of the season. They're going to do what they did when they had it 2 years ago, and they'll have it in August. In September.
No, this is going to be this World Hockey. This is the International Ice Hockey Organization. That's
not the World Cup tournament.
The World Cup of Hockey is actually owned and operated, I believe, by the NHL.
It is.
That's one of the reasons why they started it, is because they have no stake in the Olympic tournament.
Right.
So they're not getting anything out of it.
They want.
The World Cup of Hockey. They
obviously, I googled the wrong thing. It's Men's Hockey World Cup.
Okay.
Makes a little.
I didn't put World Cup of Hockey. I don't know what to tell you.
I will say one of the best things.
Our apologies to Kalinga, India.
We love you.
No, not really.
One of the best things I thought that came out of the tournament 2 years ago was Team North America, for having that combined group for USA and Canada of the 24-year-olds and unders.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Oh, that was amazing watching that, because it was just so fast and so entertaining, just seeing those guys go up against
Featuring an incredible goal
veteran
by Nathan
NHLers.
McKinnon against Henrik Lundqvist, where that he sort of deked around him and got him to fake him into an attempted poke check, and won, I think, in overtime, I believe.
I think you might be right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, just a great goal. Like great moments. They were easily the most fun team to watch, despite the fact that I believe Canada ended up winning.
They did.
But they were the most fun team to watch. Especially since Team USA was coached by John Tortorella, our old friend.
If they are going to continue that tournament, I hope they continue with having that.
Yeah, that was a nice little gimmick there. I sort of wonder if you want to. Something that you could add to the Olympics was maybe add an age limit in there to where it is only players who are under the age of 25.
They have talked about doing like a under 20 tournament kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's just it's going to be everybody across the board under 20, so it doesn't matter what league you're in or whatever. That would help. That would severely curtail any pros being in it, and it would be strictly a young man's.
And I think we all had a lot of fun watching the World Juniors. A couple months ago, it's just a blast to watch that. So it'd be great to see something like that where there's more of a level playing field, because now it doesn't really feel like there's a level playing field. Because the Russian professional league is so far ahead of where all the other professional leagues are.
You had to kind of expect going into this year that a European team was going to walk away, if not with at least the gold, but maybe even all three medals.
I think once we knew the NHL wasn't going, I think we talked about that. We talked about we thought Russia would be the favorite, obviously, but we thought maybe like Finland.
Sweden and Finland, not far behind them.
That
maybe the Czech Republic.
Yeah, maybe Czech Republic. I'm surprised that you didn't see Yager come in now that he's no longer in the NHL. Would have been a nice little swan song.
It would have been, yeah.
See that mullet on the ice one more time?
I'm sure he was approached and considered. I'm sure there's no way they didn't approach him. There's no way.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe he just didn't because he's just stepping away. Or
no, he's looking for 2022 when he's going to be 50.
Well, why not? Gordie Howe played, what was it, 7 decades of hockey?
I think so.
8?
Yeah,
7 or 8.
Because he played. I think he was 80 wasn't he? In his last game, he played.
might have been.
I think it was
80.
7 decades.
Yeah.
He was 80, 81, something like that. And they put him out there for a shift for like 15 or 20 seconds to get him on the ice.
Just for that nostalgia pop.
Just to have him be the
I
guy.
think he was playing for the Detroit Vipers of the IHL, the old international.
Yeah,
hockey league.
yeah. That concludes our show today. I would like to thank tonight's sponsors, Gary Bettman, Dr. Sean Hansen, chiropractor to the stars at Tarpon Total Healthcare, and Sam76. For more information on us, visit our Facebook page, Misfit Boyz Hockey with a Z. Thank you for listening, and we're looking forward with bated breath to the 2022 Beijing Olympics.
See our curling team at the 2022 Olympics.
Misfits Curling.